Reverse 1999 is one of the most fulfilling gacha games to come out in the year. You get treated to enjoyable stories, fun familiar turn-based strategy, all while having minimal grind in the game. The community of Reverse is small compared to other gacha games, but the people here really love their game. Having played this game since its launch, I'm happy to give to you guys a beginner's guide so as to help you out for much of the game's lifetime. This video will cover 5 major areas that you must know as you play the game. Of course, if you haven't downloaded the game yet, I have a dedicated download link in the description of my video as well as the pinned comment. The first thing to talk about of this game is progression. If you're a brand new player coming in, you're going to be a little confused as to what to build first. So I've created this table over here that will tell you what to do in the different phases of the game, from early game to the super late game. And you'd be a bit surprised for me to tell you that the super late game is kind of like 6 months into the game. You would have a pretty damn good account that will clear practically all the content in the game, and it's going to help you in terms of getting the resources that you want. So in the early game, you want to build the 4 main afflatuses of the game, so beast, plant, star, and mineral. You don't have to care about spirit and intelligence because they are able to do more damage onto each other. But in terms of these 4 afflatuses, later when we talk about the combat of this game, it's good to have one of each. And as best as possible, find the DPSs of each of these. So you can see whether a person's a damage dealer based on the tag that's given to them. There are tags for each of the characters in the game, things like DPS, support, burst damage. You'll see all of that over there. Try to find out who are the DPSs that you own at the start of your game in each of the afflatus. You could consider hybrids. Those will be better because hybrids means that they don't just have the DPS role, but they also have a support role together with them. That sort of thing will help you later on in the game instead of just having one person being a pure damage dealer. And you may also want to consider having one healer within the account, because in the chapter 2 or chapter 3 of the game, when you face certain bosses, the long fights, it could be nice to have a healer together with you. Now in terms of the levels, you want to try to set all of your character levels to be about the same. Because if you have one person who's significantly weaker than the others, this person will end up being able to die easily, and then that will render that person useless when you face certain stages. So it'll be nice if you balance out everybody's level. In the early game, it would be at Insight level 1 max, Psycute level you can put it to 20, and Resonance level you can put it to 5. Then, when you go into the mid game, that's when you want to have more copies of each of the afflatus. So you want 2 beast, 2 plant, 2 star, and 2 mineral. And while you already have the DPS for the afflatus, so again, consider the hybrids. At this point in the game, you will have more units, maybe even more 5 and 6 stars. Look at the ones with the hybrid traits, and those will be able to help you more in the late game. And then, in terms of the remainder of the characters, so the next beast plant that you're building, you might want to pick according to your preferred roles. So if let's say you want to play more control of the characters, those that can stun the enemies, or you want to have someone that can cleanse your units, it's good to look out for these people because you'll be able to play them more in the future. In terms of the level, put them at Insight level 2 maximum, Psycute level will be 40, and then Resonance level you put it at 7. And then once you get to the late game and the super late game, you can do pretty much whatever that you want as long as you find out the playstyle that you enjoy and the synergy of your units. For myself in my own account, I kind of chase for all the afflatus, trying to get 4 of each afflatuses so that they can easily handle the stages later on. As for yourself, it is okay to mix afflatuses just as long as you're able to synergize them well because someone's buff supports somebody else's damage, that sort of thing. Level-wise, do not put your units at the maximum levels. Those can be super expensive. Going maximum for someone can mean someone else not being able to be built to the same level. So the general good level that we put our units is at Insight 3, level 30, and then Psycute level, it can go up to 60, but the ascension from the second last tier to the last tier is very expensive with the HF polarization. So put your Psycute level at 50, and then Resonance level, you can go from 10 to 15, but the stats increases. They are okay, nice to have, but not a must, and it's very expensive to do so. So 10 is usually where people stop. Only when you're in the super late game, if you want to further build past this particular benchmark, you can, but always understand that resources in this game are very limited. Now, talking about progression as well, especially if you're a new player, the first few things that you should start clearing will be your story mode of chapter 1 and 2. Then go for the Harvest Prime, because Harvest Prime is where you can increase your island, the wilderness that you have. I'll tell you why that's very important later on. And then you can try to start clearing the event story mode, and then you follow through with the path that I say over there. Now, it doesn't mean that if you haven't cleared the Harvest Prime, you can't play chapter 3 or 4. You can do things concurrently, but the path that I wrote over here is a general advice as to how you can clear certain things. Then afterwards, once you have done all of them, you'll be able to play whatever that you want. Moving on to the next part of the game, which is combat, which the tips for this are going to be very simple. The game makes it easy for you to pick the units in each stages by recommending you an afflatus. So for example, in this stage, most of the enemies here are star, which is why they recommend the plant afflatus. So you will see such units having the stronger tag, which means they can deal more damage onto these enemies. For your units that have the weaker tag, because they have a weaker afflatus, it doesn't mean that they do less damage, they just don't get a damage bonus, but the enemies will deal more damage onto them. So as far as possible, you don't want to bring weaker units unless you're certain they dish out a lot of damage, or you know why they support your team and you can keep them alive. Otherwise, you will have them dying more easily. Then, at the same time, there are 3 types of damage in the game. So there is reality damage, mental damage, and genesis damage. For reality and mental damage, you can think of reality as physical, and you can think of mental as magic or arts. And then genesis damage is basically true damage, unaffected by their reality defense or mental defense. So if the stats are the same, you can pretty much bring whatever units that you want. But if the stats have one of them being lower, for example the reality defense is lower, then you might want to create a more reality damage centric team in order to deal with the stage. So it is also nice if you can gel your units such that they work together hand in hand. Instead of having a big mix of damage types, you could concentrate them all in reality or all in mental, so that your buffers and debuffers also have an easier time. Next up, the resources that you can get in the game. Now when it comes to the pools, these are in the form of clear drops, and there are plenty of ways for you to get them. There are login events, side events, raw jukebox, daily and weekly activeness. All adds up to the point that you can get as good as 30 plus free pools every single month, sometimes even more than 40. Now, there are also bi-weekly ways for you to get more clear drops, and that's in the form of Artificial Somnambulism and Limbo. So AS is a very important game mode for you to clear, but a lot of people struggle with it because of a misconception that they have. The way AS works in the later part is that the units that you use in the front cannot be used in the second stage. But you might be thinking that you need 2 full teams of 4. The way for you to clear this more easily is consider downsizing your squad. Maybe bringing 3 or if not 2 people in the squad so that you can save some of your good units for the second stage. And if you want to get your clear drops very badly, another advice I have is to build your units according to the stage requirements. So you see the elements that you kind of need, the afflatus I mean, and then afterwards build towards it, see the enemies, what their weaknesses are, and don't need to regret building the units in order to clear the stages, because the good thing is you're unlocking the weekly farming that you can get along with the bi-weekly limbo stages by doing so. Then, at the same time, if you want even more clear drops, there's also the hard mode, which exists in the story chapters and the events. But if you're in the early game, don't think about clearing hard mode just yet, because this is gonna need some mid-game to late-game stats in order to handle them. Now let's talk about wilderness. It's a very important part for all new players to focus on. You want to build your Paleo Hall, your Dust Bell Tower, and your Shapodonti Market up as fast as possible, because this is how you can get some AFK farming. You log out, you come back in, you realize you get plenty of dust and Shapodonti to claim in your account. So it's pretty important for you to farm the Harvest Prime early on so that you can build up all of their Q levels and later be rewarded in the long run. You're not only rewarded by leveling them up, but by also increasing the vigor of your island. So the vigor that you see here is this little bell that you see on the top, and it does increase your resource output. So what you want to do is to place all the islands that you can, max out every single tile, and when you have buildings as well, feel free to put them somewhere within your island to decorate it. Because once you have done that, you will see that your resource output has gone up, and you can see what you need in order to reach the next level. So this will increase the total amount of Shapodonti and dust that you get. At the same time, as you can see, by placing units into the island, you can also get bond. So the good thing about bond is that as it gets increased, you are able to get clear drops in your account. And let's just click at Sweetheart for example. Increasing their bond will give you little collectibles like the item and the story, and then clicking on them will give you clear drops. So this is a nice way for you to farm more pools. So as a new player, or even if you're in the mid game, if you still haven't done so, make sure that you focus on building up your wilderness. The final thing for you to know is how to spend all these resources. So let's go to the store to show you how they work. So over here in the shop, let's first take a look at the pawn shop. So this is where you can use your pooling currency. So there's the Track of the Lost, which I call it a blue album. And then afterwards there's Album of the Lost, which I call it a yellow album. So for the blue albums, the first thing for you to prioritize is going to be the Unilocks. There's 10 for you to buy every month, and this is a very easy way to top up more pools in your account. Then focus on buying the polarization, because there are no other ways for you to farm this except during event shops if they were to appear. Once you've bought them out, there are no normal stages that gives you this, so you will have to buy them from a shop like this one over here. Not too much of a spending for you to buy them. Then whatever excess that you have left, you can choose to buy the resources that you need, or you can just save up for the next month for you to buy the pools and these two things again. Then for the travel counter, this is where you can buy things with your yellow albums. So this depends on what your priority is. You could use them to buy Unilocks, which means get more pools, or you can save them up so that you can get a specific 6-star or a 5-star. Now, if you are very particular on wanting a certain 6-star, then it is better for you to save up all the way there. But if you don't care about that, then it will be better for you to spend on pools. You could also spend these yellow albums on these materials you see here, the resonance ones, but it's quite expensive and I won't recommend it unless you're super late game. Anything else like all the materials you see here, I also don't suggest you buying it. HF polarization maybe can be okay if you don't want to trade all your polarization in the lower tiers into this one. But other than that, this is what I'll suggest for the albums. Now over in the fragment shop, this is where you can spend the currency you get from Numa analysis. So you can farm this every single day. You'll get a Tot element, which I call it a silver Tot or a silver ball. And then you can get the Toxicity, which is a yellow or golden Tot. Again, you can call it a ball as well. So for your golden balls, you can use it to buy 6-star worth of Psycubes. And then for the silver ones, you can buy the 5-star worth of Psycubes. The choice of the Psycubes depend on the units that you have. Certain units are best fit with certain Psycubes. So you might want to check out certain guides elsewhere to see who's best at using what, and then you can simply buy them. Do note that there's this 30% off, so this will be better for you to buy in terms of saving your money. There's a lot of 30% off for you all to get. And then the limited ones simply mean that because there's an event ongoing, they will be cheaper for the time being, or they will be only available then for you to buy. So these are the ones for you to get. Again, buy as you need. Enlightened material, I don't suggest you to buy unless you insist on getting it. Then for the Onieric shop, Onieric comes from the Artificial Somnambulism. You get it every week and also by playing Limbo. So for this one, prioritize your resonance materials. So buy as you need. If you need the Cacophony, go and buy that. If you need the Nail, go and buy that. And the Crystal Casket as well. The other materials like Liquefied Terror, all these like lower tier stuff, don't get them. Moment of Dissonance can be okay as well. So again, for this one, just buy only the resonance materials. Final advice for you guys if you're looking for more information on the units that you're interested in or where to farm the materials that you want in the various stages, Pridewind.gg I would say is a pretty good site for you to rely on after watching this video. So that's all the tips that you need to know about Reverse 1999. I hope that this video has helped you out in building a better account and also enjoying the game. If you'd like to join me on more Reverse stuff, I don't often make videos for Reverse, but I do stream every single patch over here on the YouTube channel. So if you'd like to join, do hit subscribe and I shall see you guys on all the Reverse 1999 streams.